saturation. The Prosci change saturation model has actually been around since 2008, based again on research and this formulation of ideas that come out of data collection and trying to boil things down to the simplicity, the essence. We call it elegant simplicity when we design models and solutions, because so much of our frame of how we engage with clients is through knowledge transfer. So whether it's the ABCs or the Clark model or AGCAR model, here's change saturation broken down into two critical components. Saturation is actually a function of capacity and disruption. So think about the buckets on the left. How much change can an individual, group, or organization handle? We only have so many buckets, and the size of the buckets might be constrained, or we have limitations on increasing the size of the buckets. And then over there on the right-hand side, we have disruption. How much change is actually happening? So think of that as the volume of the flow of water into those buckets based on a certain number of faucets or spigots, and how fast that water is flowing. So when we think about what is causing saturation, it is a function of capacity and disruption. So even though we sit back and look at this, what I want people to do is feel empowered by the levers that you have available to you to impact or to increase capacity or decrease disruption, which then results in less change saturation, fatigue, and burnout. So let me just unpack this just a little bit. This is one of those models that when I first saw it and I started getting my brain processing on it, I'm like, wow, there's really something here that can help me, both in the questions that I ask and the ways that I engage. So let's look at capacity. Capacity is a function of culture, history, and structure. What is the culture of your organization around growth, speed, change, all of those things? What is your history with change? If you have a history of failed change, capacity actually goes down because people anticipate failed change. Similarly, if you have a history of really positive and purposeful and successful change, then capacity goes up. Organization structure impacts that, and all three of those, culture, history, and structure, are not necessarily things that you can affect in the short run, but you can affect them over time. But some of the things that are more short-run solutions for change capacity is getting really clear and sharing and making sure people understand the need for change. Going back to ADKAR awareness, why now? What if we don't? What are the risks of and costs of not changing or not changing well? Interestingly enough, as people perceive the need for change to be great, their capacity goes up. We make room in our world for more change when we believe that change is needed. That's something that we can affect. And then also change management competencies from our senior leaders and our project leaders and our people leaders and our frontline employees and associates. When people have more competency to deal with change individually, their capability and capacity goes up. So think about change capacity. Is there anything you can affect there to decrease change saturation? Over on the right-hand side, of course, the number of changes is a critical component of change disruption. There's just so many. So one of the questions might be is, can we reduce the number of changes? And I have heard the response more than once. The answer is no. The changes are the changes. The projects are the projects. So then what can I affect? Maybe I can affect the disruptive nature of each one. Maybe the nature of the change can be signaled differently. Maybe I can sequence it, or I can minimize it, or I can stagger it, or I can combine it, or I can, you name the answer. And then, of course, the more effective change management is on each of those initiatives. They become less disruptive, right? This is the way we introduce change. So I don't know about you, but this was really insightful for when I first saw this model, that I felt more in control of saturation. I felt more in control of the change fatigue. What are the things I can affect and the levers on the left-hand side around capacity, and what can I do on the right side around disruption? So again, at Prosci, just in terms of, what we do in partnership with you is try to get to the essence of these kinds of things to get you to the point where you've got tools and resources to give you those actionable insights to make the adjustments you need to make, right? Because you are the ones that are figuring out how best to do that in your organizations.